Alright, good morning everybody. Welcome to the StarTrek FleetCommand show. That's what we're going to call it this time. But you can call it anything you want because it's on YouTube. So the 30-day loyalty chest here, I can finally purchase. I've been saving up for almost 2 months because I got up to like 26 Felix, right? Like 25 or something chests, and then I really needed Latinum, so I burned or bought like I think at least 7 days, and then I rebuilt the supply up. And then this morning, and thank you StarTrek, FleetCommand, Scopy, CBS, everybody who works for these guys. So eventually we'll have a list and put it in the credits. And thanks to Felix and his family. Thanks to Felix's mom. Thanks to my family too. So in my chest, which the icon disappeared, the compensation pack for today, I got a loyalty badge. So that finishes off the 30 that I need. And if you're wondering, do these loyalty packs increase? They do, but it takes a while. Like I remember the numbers because I would look at this every once in a while. Didn't seem different for like weeks. But after getting a level like 26 or 27, or maybe 25 is when this number changed. This just used to be 3 1-day speed ups. Now it's up to 4. So these are the rewards here. And yes, you can get 2. So it's prudent probably, Felix, to save up, a set of loyalty badges. But maybe we get more stuff at level 28 or 29 or something. So, or the next 2 or 3 levels. I know people are at different levels. So Felix's account I think is right now 23. So because he works more than I do, right? Like the IRS is on him more. Technically, I'm tax free because I'm not up to what is it now, like 35,000. I am in like my labor, but I just haven't filed for everything and done my all deductions and then get everything back with the 3% like Trump what we actually pay. So, which it doesn't make any sense to me, but we're just wasting time throwing money back and forth. So I wish it would be just a straight like freedom to pay your tax whenever and how much you want to pay, like what we call a donation, right? And we'll get to that someday on this earth. That's coming soon, probably. But we're gonna purchase the one chest here, or the one pack is what I call it. So we're getting 10 shards here for Carl Marcus. So she's a special person I haven't unlocked yet. It says I got 85 though, out of 90 shards to unlock her. She has a ability, her captain ability is applied science, so negative 40% to opponent damage when defending in battle, and her officer ability is weapons expert, which is 20% damage to be dealt. Now whether this works or not, I don't know, because I've never had this officer, but I know that Marla works. So Marla McGivers in the augment store is really good at cutting your repair time down. Not the repair resource costs, but the repair time costs. So, so I made a video of that. So if you're on my channel or anywhere on YouTube, just type in Marla and my name, and it should be the first result or 2 on the list. So, yeah, and thanks for everybody watching, and you're welcome. So, we also get 320 Latinum, yay! And you're wondering what is the value of that? Right now, Scopy's selling like 500 or 600 Latinum for $4.99. So that's almost $5 a Latinum, right? Or $4, however you want to do the math. And then we get 2 units of rare. Now, do not underestimate these little 2 units of rare, because it adds up to be enough to do a lot. I actually got 80 now of some of these, so I can now use them on the highest tiers. With some of your ships will use that rare crystal as an upgrade, and actually some of it's used in key researches. So hopefully we can compile a complete list of which ones require these. then we get 80 units of the 3 major 3-star resources that we usually mine, which Felix in every mining event now is always like double or like 180% of the points that I get like on the Alliance stats in OPM. So I'm number 2 now. He's number 1. And uncommon refined crystal, 30 units. Uncommon refined gas. 80 units. So 80 of each was total 240. And then 800 units of the common crystal, gas, and ore, all refined, which means they're ready to be used right away. This is a raw one which uses the same image, so don't get them confused. So, as the words tell you the difference. And then you also get 800 recruit tokens, ultra recruit tokens, which I call the purple ones because for me that color looks kind of purplish. So, and it has like an elongated Starfleet star. So this is enough to open up one box, which you actually gets charged for rare and epic officers, like it says in the description. Now the premium gold recruit tokens, you get 1,200, but each chest is 150. And you're wondering, should I save like half or some of these for events or bonuses? Yes, I try to do this. Otherwise, if you're busy, you just open them all up. But like, there was one time, Felix, with the Borg mission, I tried to record it. Like the first Borg event of this year, where I used recruit tokens to start the mission, and it was kind of weird because sometimes I would log in and look at the gift box, and instead of the Borg keys, which you get from the Borg event, after you get points and after days, and it adds up, and then you get these keys which you can open up these new story missions, which are interesting. I use my recruit tokens. Now the ones that I actually used were different. So, and at first it was cheap. It was like 40, 20. But then the next one I saw was up to like 100 or something. So you want to save a decent amount, Really just use one of these and the least you can, and then when there's an event, you'll have them ready. Because these you can open like all of them in a day, like many in a day. There's no limit. So if you have to open all of them in a day, you can. There's no restriction. It's not like our mining resources, which we can only refine twice a day. Now a lot of people wish it was just completely open, where you can refine all of it at once, or like in Command and Conquer, all your stuff refines automatically and is turned straight to currency. So, which this game actually goes resource to resource. In there, your Tiberium, which is like resource in later games like Tiberium Wars, it goes into US dollars or dollars in the story, and you actually don't see where the resource goes in the game. And then you just use that directly to buy stuff like buildings and units. Now these recruit tokens, which are blue with this picture that looks like a person, those ones cost only 20. So those are the cheapest, and they're pretty useful. They're actually the best deal, I think, because you only get 20 of them, but you get like almost the same number of shards for all your normal recruits or your regular recruits or common or uncommon or whatever. I wouldn't underestimate them. They all have good abilities, and it can be strong, and at higher levels are stronger than your premium and epic at like level 1. So I'd take always level 20 of these guys versus level 1 epic, because it takes so long to like get them up. So not too long. I mean, you could probably get it done in like less than 3 weeks, and if you could like platinum everything, probably like in a day, which is really hard to do right now. Unless you got a huge budget or the best administrative software for this game, or all the internal codes, and we'll get into that later. Now we have also 4 one-day speed-ups, which have 2 gold chevrons, right? That's how I recognize these. I also call them 24-hour speed-ups. I think I labeled it that way in some of the titles. I'm sorry the title's not longer my YouTube videos. I'm actually restricted to 100 characters. So that's a real restriction. So if you ever look at the YouTube uploader videos I do, and I might do more to explain that in detail, there's a character limit for every single box I can type things in. 5,000 for descriptions, playlists are like 250, and titles are actually 100 characters. That includes the spaces too. So and it does work. It actually gives a count as you type with the limit at the bottom, so a fraction. So and the count numbers at the top. And if you go over the count, it goes in red, and it'll give you an error message if you try to submit it or save it or whatever the button is called nowadays. And the last gift in the reward here is 1 hour speedups. So I've said this twice already, but I guess I gotta say it 3 times. But I heard a director say, right, Felix, that you have to say it 3 times. I think the guy was from Happy Days. He was like the father in Happy Days. That's the show from the 70s. So I forgot his name because he's so famous. For 1 hour speedups. These can be used for construction of ships, building upgrades, construction. They can also be used for tearing up. And what's the 4th thing they can be used for, Felix? I remember now. You there? All right. Yeah. It's researches, but they can't be used to repair your ships. There's actually a whole different set, a different number of speedups, a different type. They're called repair speedups, but they look the same on the icons, and they're almost spelled or worded the same. So be careful not to confuse them, and check them when you need to in your items tab. Now we click on done, so these will actually be deposited into the items depository. So the value of this is about $100 or $50 or what, I don't know, we'll call it $5 or $1, whatever you want to say. For me, it's like $100 of stuff. So this helps save me $100 of time, because I'm a very time-based person. So we're gonna open up some of these gold ones right now to see if we can get some nice shards. So I'm gonna show you how this works. So you go into the recruit or officer thing, then you click on recruit, which is the green button on the top right. I just did quickly. And we're getting a shard for Alexander Marcus. Interestingly, when you look at the you only get those full page spreads with their description when you open these chests, so that's kind of special. Otherwise, you only see their like first names here, or last names, or whatever that is. So we're getting shards for a lot of people. Wow. Okay. Now that looks like 14 different characters here. Mostly 1 shard each, so that's pretty good. Now, if you're wondering, can you choose your shards currently? Right now, it's not an option, but I hope it will be. I think a lot of people would like that, to actually choose what officer they want. But going one step farther, actually being able to relock these characters and get your recruit tokens back and use them again. So kind of like an undo button. Me and Felix were saying, but I was trying to think, okay, what do we really name it? Like a refund button or something? A refund sounds good, but you know, we can always work on the GUI software for that. So, and if you're questioning if I was a software programmer, I was, but originally I was a hardware designer. So that was my primary skill. So. Yeah, it's, I don't know. They call it, used to call it software assembly, because there was a software language also called assembly, and like really, you gotta know both to do things well. Almost every good engineer in the world does. Thankfully, we're up to almost 1 million of those guys, right, Felix? Felix is one of them.
Yeah, playing engineers out there.
Yeah. We just got to get organized and actually get serious about the work, right? Maybe actually finish our jobs here, so we can actually enjoy our solar panels, our electric cars, get a real impulse engine to work, or even a real electric octocopter or anything, because it scares me to be in a regular helicopter, even on a jet plane. 'Cause I'm looking at the wing, I'm like, how thin is the metal in that wing, and why do we have only 2 engines, Felix? Like, shouldn't we have at least 5? We don't even have to turn them all on when we take off or anything. And why is our runway so small? Like, I think some of the newer airports might be put outside the city. So, doesn't mean the plane has to be bigger, but that's even crazier. We don't need like a Titanic-sized plane. But like, like if we could make our plane wider, right, and put like 5 engines on the back and only use like 2 or 3 for takeoff, and then if you need that booster, it would help. And then being able to fly higher up above the storm level, or lower too, but safely, would be actually sometimes more economical. And it would be interesting too. Like if you could fly at like 5,000 feet all the way from here to somewhere, you would have a nicer view on the trip too. Some people are scared because of the height. So you get up to 35, sometimes 38,000 feet. And it's not any more dangerous, but like, it scares some people who aren't comfortable with that. I'm personally, I always remember that's the edge of space is 100 kilometers up, which in feet, I haven't worked out how much that is, because I always get confused on the conversion between a kilometer and a mile. Now I do remember a mile is 5,280 feet, so I just can't work out like how many feet are in a kilometer yet. I've looked it up a few times, but in my math classes, and I went up to calculus, it was never, like a year or 2 of calculus. It was never a thing I had to memorize. Never a question I was answered. Even when I was an engineer too. Aerospace engineer too. Not even just like, my first engineering job was actually high-tech fiber channel equipment. So I could give you the names of the stuff, but I think I'm going to confuse everybody. I don't want to shove that in here. I guess G-Bigs, routers and switches. We use the 7000 series was the biggest one I saw in person, and our customers were like Cisco Systems. Sometimes we send them directly to places in Japan, like server rooms. Some people in our company actually flied, and at that time our CEO, Jim McClooney, was leading the company. Though he wasn't the first CEO, he was the last, and the company was later sold and its assets and the stock converted to Emulex, and then to Brocade, and then Varia, and then there was or Avery, if you want to call it that. I don't know how to pronounce the company's name because I wasn't there anymore. And I think now it's under like United Technologies or something, or will be soon. So, which always, for me, Felix, goes to like the lifetime of a business. So, so it happens all the time. Which is strange. When you come back, you see the same employees still working there. Some people, kept their jobs there, and they're just, under a different company title now. Everything we had, if you type in Vixo on the internet, there's photos of all the products we made. So we had, I think at our branch, at least 400 engineers. So it was a pretty big branch. And then we had other staff too. So businessmen, accountants, sales team was big. And then we had people that were like technicians, like technical specialists is what we call them. So people who were very good at soldering, people that were very good at maintaining installation. They were the experts at that, I guess. So I didn't talk to them often because I was in the research and engineering team. So my job was trying to get the new stuff finished and make the new stuff from scratch. Like actually, some stuff doesn't exist yet, and you got to draw these blueprints out, which is always fun, like in CAD and and like circuitry prints, and on the software side, after our hardware side was done, we try to support them and figure out how to make the software work perfectly. Was our error rate, Felix? It was crazy. We could only get like one mistake for every like 100 billion data. That was like our minimum error, right? It was like, you know, like 14 zeros, and we could only make one mistake. So, and sometimes that was considered too low too, because the amount of data that passes now is crazy. Like in bits or bytes or the smallest unit, the binary units, it's literally like billions of numbers just through one device. Like even your phone is being sent in like sometimes minutes now, and sometimes under 1 minute. If you're going at full speed, and you got the newest crud, like the 120 gigabyte connections or whatever they call them now. It's like the amount of data you see that goes by is like, wow, that's amazing. But when you break it down to the technology and slow it down, you see it's very reliable nowadays. It's just the price is a little high, but they're saving all that money, and hopefully they're going to return it, just like the IRS is trying to do this month. And they're having trouble with some of the checks, and this website's confusing and stuff, but I won't get into that right now. So we're going to swap the ship out here, and then so I can actually start working on my MayFlower. Yay! Now, how you doing, Felix?
Not too bad, alright.
Yeah, you get a good breakfast? I wish I could. I'm eating what looks like honey Cocoa Puffs. We got a bag of it, so with no milk. I got ice water though. The lowest fat version of the cereal. No skim milk, no 2%. A lot of the UTH milk, and I was talking to Felix about this earlier, here in Vietnam, and yes, I have been to other places in Asia, but mostly airports. Even though I was born in the Philippines, I don't remember that, because I was like 3 months old when my parents and I flew out of the country. And that's a long story. There's actually a newspaper article. If you guys find it, please give me a copy. Part of the Anchorage Daily Times, part of, I think, the November or December edition of 1984. It was on the front page. There's a photo of me as a kid and my parents back then in their 20s. So nothing too special, but we didn't get to the national newspaper, Felix. I don't even know what the National American was. It probably is called National America later on, right? Like, I don't think anybody ever reads it. Like, I've never seen anybody hold a newspaper in like a decade, Felix. Everybody's like on the net or on the YouTube or on the TV or on the radio. Like, there's no, like, Wow, I left my Valk the whole night in Aphroditalis and nobody shot it. I'm surprised. Oh, and I only have 2 hours left on my P shield. So yeah. Oh, about today's events, it's the Solo Glory one. So, thanks to Felix for telling me about that. So, this one's a little different, where you get actually gold trophies. And the main reward seems to be parcel tokens. I think for some people they'll get the 100K ones, and other people will get the millions. And currently they don't have all the different numbers, like the 200Ks and all that. So that'll probably be in another release of this game when they get up to update 40 or 30. That's right. Now the update number I think is only up to 19 or so, maybe less. So, because I don't see those on here. For this event, at my level, I have to hit 30s and below. So 30s are 20 points, and ships that are 29 are 6.5 6 points each. But in independent space, these ships are a lot weaker. Also, they're closer to warp to from where my current location is. And if you're wondering where my base is, you're welcome to know. It's not a secret. Over 200 players have seen it. And it's actually probably recorded in at least 100 of these videos. It's in Vermet. So you're welcome to visit me. I'm waiting for you. Right, Felix? If you just want to see the MayFlower, you can make an appointment with me. You can just throw it in the comments. My email's in the description. My Facebook's there where you can message me. Later on, when I get I'm actually trying to get a Google number. You can actually call me. So, but through the other mediums, you can actually give me a voice call too. So we can actually hit nothing but 30s with this walk right now while we're waiting. I already got 105 points. Yay! Now, you're wondering, like, at what level do you have to hit 30s? And if you're actually one of the players still in the single digits or in the teens, like 19 all the way to 10. And actually, at 10, that's when a player combat's unlocked. So, like before that, you're protected. And then your base is protected until you get, I remember, to level 15. So at 14 you're okay, 15 it will give you a message every single time when you try to build that ops. Level up to 15. So, so let's swap this in. And let's see if we can upgrade something, Felix. So we got like $100 worth of stuff, and these loyalty packs you can't purchase in the store. So this is a huge reward for players who work hard and are trying to save their money to someday frickin' buy StarTrek or real MayFlower. Or you don't even have to make a ship that looks that silly. It can, look like a regular van that flies, what my dad calls an air taxi, I call a jet car. I don't know what Felix would call it. What do you want to call it, Felix? Yeah. Well, even if we can get transport just to go over the ocean, right? Like if you could get like not a yacht, but something like the size of a mobile home, like a small mobile home, like a 20-footer or 22-footer, to get across from Australia to Asia and not have to go through public transportation, the public airport, you would, right? Because it would save you time and you could bring more stuff. A lot of people don't know when you travel internationally, they limit you, even if you buy a first class ticket, to only like 50 pounds or, well, about 100 pounds of stuff, but your box has to be a certain size. Like the box can be only a minimum of like 50 pounds, and they're picky about the kilograms because most people here use that. In America we use pounds, so it sounds like more or less. I don't know which one's more. I think kilos are more. Kilos are like 2.2 pounds. So like I'm over a kilo, and then like for some reason the staff at Ava Airlines, and yes, I'm calling you out because you guys are crazy. The airplane weighs over 1 million kilos. 20 or 30 seats there's nobody in the seats. First class is never full. We have like over 10,000 whatever pounds of fuel. There's empty space in the wings, empty space in the cargo bay, empty space in the bathrooms, empty space in the fuselage. Like most of the plane's empty, alright? So 1 or 2 kilos for every extra passenger, but some people are traveling for a long time, 30 days. I travel almost 200 days at a time over here. So these are necessary supplies, which sometimes I wish I had my letterhead with like the president's office of both your airline. And this has happened to me with other airlines too, but like the Japanese airlines I went to were a little better. But like this whole restriction, 7 kilos for this thing, whatever, is too strict. So we got to stop with that BS. And also put the number to what it used to be, like 15. And the other one is like 50. And the other part is like these stewardesses are having trouble. But some of them were actually stewardesses to carry these boxes over because they lack that little conveyor belt, you know, off the scale. And also those scales are not correct. Like you will, if you brought like a regular manual scale to the airport and you put the object on the scale in front of them and looked at the number, and you put it on their digital scales, you might notice like a 2 kilo difference, because they've been, you know, this is a tendency when they're actually made by default, they're pumped up a bit, so a little past the real numbers. So it's a common mistake. It's not the fault of those people who work there per se, but that's their job to check up on all that stuff. But the people who made the scales, or the machines that made the scales, are effed up too. So I hope we fix that. I'm sorry to use the F word, like freedom, or other things. Okay, or fixing it. How about that? So yeah, good. So that's my formal complaint, which we're gonna talk to the White House TSA and like the FAA about this, because there's actually a FAA office near Bush International Airport. So, and reports, but this is a verbal report, will be submitted to them with your names. So be careful if you're working. Because I'm tired of it, you know. I'm tired of this like 1 kilo, 2 kilo, go back to the end of the line stuff. Like they're really unorganized. You need to service your customer. It's 2 kilos over 21. Just let it go through. And the other 2 stewardesses should be helping you. Also, that security guard behind you, he works for the airport, you know, so he needs to help you load. Or you can ask the passengers, which I'm happy to go on the other side of the ticket counter and carry that thing, or with one other person. So. Also, there's a bunch of carts, so you know, right away at every airport, there's carts you can use. So if you put the carts on the other side and move it over, it helps. So temporarily, you know, that's an easier way to load. So suggest that, everyone, to your airports, ticket agents or check-in agents, because they might need that help. All right, so we got the MayFlower now, and the Tierup time is 1 day and 1 hour. So we're actually gonna tear this all up. This is amazing. This is the first time I've ever done like a full Tierup in seconds here. Literally, if you got the right speed ups, which is a preference because the Latinum you really need for other things. It's kind of like your last option. Here we go. We got 4 1-day speed ups. We'll use one. We are down to 1 hour and 33 minutes. Interesting. There's an extra 33 in there, Felix. It's not a straight 24 hours. Now I got 15 1-hour speed ups. I saved a few last night from the daily from yesterday, thanks to Felix's good help, as he actually helps me with a lot of things, with making Latinum, what we call borrowing Latinum, because we'll get into that later. Like we didn't know what else to do today, so you know, our the first 500 employees of Skype and the first 20,000 employees of StarTrek haven't finished a lot of stuff yet. So from Gene Roddenberry into whoever the new guy is now, you know, those actors you see, I guess, which their face are in these games here now. All right, so actually we are now into tier 2. Let's do the warp engine upgrade, because I think that doesn't cost any titanium, and I only have 120k in my warehouse, but I can open up tokens to make this go faster. So it's 65 3-star explorer parts and 150 3-star common refined ore, 25,000 dilithium. So that is done, and we have 6 upgrades like we normally do. So here's the shield, which actually does combine about 21% increase in the stats. So this is working out pretty nice. 650 common refined gas. Woo. Some high numbers. 100 units of common 3-star ore, or red ore is what I call it. 3-star explorer parts I said, and 1.1 million titanium. Now for the military supremacy event yesterday, that was my first win. I couldn't do the first two because I didn't have a ship to tier up, which is the main way you win the event. Like the crazy way, because it's like 500 points and you only get 2 points for level 31s, is to use, I guess, all your ships to shoot all level 31s, which is difficult to do. That's why in this game you never see other people do it. So I don't know how many one of the few could do that, I guess. The developer team will probably do it. Let's open up items. So the information ahead of time, we really need to talk to these guys, and I think inside of the software itself is actually the schedule, for at least for the month. So if we actually get the keys to open that and view it, you'd be surprised to see like tomorrow's events inside of your software. Was, as Felix knows, everything is preloaded, right, Felix?
Yeah, must be, what?
Yep. Yeah, we always forget about that. I think it's like being sent over the server like 5 minutes or a minute or an hour or 24 hours. Like, nope, it's probably been there when you installed it. Maybe even beforehand, to be honest. So, but you'd be surprised how far they load stuff sometimes. So we open up 10 100 K or 100,000 tokens. That's a total of 1 million, which is exactly what I need. Now it's 1.1 million. So let's open up more so that I can do the rest of these without, my option, which is a long way to do it, even though the two bases are next to each other now in the event, is to actually base raid my own base. But to bust through, I need a ship strong enough. And the problem is my 350 Kamari, and I can change it up to make it like 373. That's my best stat so far. Takes almost probably 10 times to get through. So I don't want to waste it. Every time I had to burn speed ups for Latinum and all this stuff, it's a bit of a headache. Also, I got a P shield up that has on that base more than 20 something hours. So if you hit a base, you have to deactivate the P shield first. So the easy way to do that is to send out a really weak ship. And it doesn't have to defeat the ship, it just has to attack. So even if you lose the battle, it'll deactivate the shield. Now there's a little 5 or 10 minute shield that comes up right away automatically, even when you're offline, which is great. But once in a while it doesn't work for me. I've seen it where it didn't come up, which is not surprising. Nobody said that thing was perfect. But to deactivate it right away, if you base raid yourself or your friend wants to share his resources with you, he actually has to send out a ship, and he can send the cheapest ship, like the first ship in the game, or Fortunate, or Orion, or even his 2-star ships, and just attack anything, any other ship or your ship, and then the shield will actually be deactivated immediately. Now, if you're wondering about the cost of peace shields, it depends on the time. So the ones I prefer the most are the 12-hour peace shields at 100 Alliance credits, and you have to save them. Unfortunately, you don't get 100 Alliance credits every day, even if you're buying premium packs every day. So it's not the standard. So now I think it's possible. Probably use Latinum to buy Alliance credits, but I think I tried. I couldn't do it. But if you can successfully do it, please make a video. I like to see it. So, all right. So that's the shield upgrade. So now we're up to 233. Now we're gonna go with the cargo bay, as our goal is to do the whole tier. Now we only got 3 more. Sorry I didn't do the numbers, but you could see them in the video. A few explorer parts, titanium only. There's 300 something thousand, and 1 3-star resource, which is always refined. You cannot use raw resources directly. You can't just mine and throw it on a ship, which is realistic. Felix, right? and gives the server a little break.
Yeah, well,
And your workers at Scopy. So, yep. Thanks to Scopy and StarTrek again, and CBS. And thanks to Felix too. So we're already halfway done with our upgrades. Here's our next one. Now all these are the same, right? And no, I can't put another phaser upgrade. I can't throw a mining laser like in other games yet. There's not a choosable or customized upgrade yet. These are preset, and once they're on, they can't be taken off. So you can't get these resources off. There is an undo button, but you'll have to find it. It's somewhere in the software. You have to enable it, probably is the best word. So that's why learning software, everyone, is a good thing to do. So here, the phaser bank, this is the MK3 upgrades. 41 units uncommon refined gas. Now that's different than common, but interestingly, I have more uncommon, which is what I wanted, Felix. But now it's like, you know, it's not used that often on the first tiers, well, which is okay. I haven't dove into my Latinum resources yet. So that's only 41 units, which is cheap. I mean, even your Tala and stuff, which is like your first or second battleship, like one of your cheapest ones, uses almost that amount of 2-star stuff. And now 3-star Explorer parts, that's 130 parts for that. And then 10, even though I have a supply of 801, uncommon refined ore, 570,000 titanium, which I've already said once, and that's the second time, and 49,500 dilithium. We're pressing the green upgrade button. We're up to upgrade number, and the upgrades are working good, thank God. Thank you, Jesus. So we ran out of titanium again, Felix. So we gotta run back to the item store. So if you ever do this Tierup, Felix, you probably, for like tier 2, have to have about 3.5 million, maybe 4 million titanium in the warehouse to do it all in one shot, you know. So I run back and forth because I don't know how much to open, to be honest. Of course, I don't have the luxury, but it's only 9 a.m. Preparing all this and filming like Rev does. He basically has like a home studio, that guy. So, and Fortis, and now on Shell on YouTube. So those are the other content providers that you will see. Okay, so I got some kind of reward. I don't know what that is, but we're gonna click on it. But this is all about rewards, the whole video. Oh, 6,300 Federation reputation points. Now you wonder what that helps me with. That helps me unlock stuff in the faction store for the Federation. So, and yes, I have to go through 2 menus because there's not a single button for that, which is not bad. That keeps it safe. Alright, so we got another 1 million titanium, which I'm going to be short again, but we can run back and get the last 100k we need. So it's the same numbers, exactly, 41, 130, 10, 570, and 49.5. We're going to upgrade for this phaser bank energy MK6 upgrade, which is a energy weapon. So all combat researches related to energy weapons affect this stat. And now we're down to 567,000 titanium. I am off by only about 70k. So all we gotta do is open just a 1k no, or a 100k. Sorry, that's a mouthful even for me. And I still have 73. That's my lucky number. No, 73 was my apartment number, Felix, in Texas. That was my address back in like 2015 or so. Yeah, that's the reason why that number always makes me, you know, makes me feel like I remember that year, you know, back in 2016. Now, which I own, but I'm trying to sell my share because they're actually kind of partially in the condominium, so long story about that. So Sun Park Apartments. I'm coming back for my check. Yes, Vicky, and the manager that I deal with, Vicky Hubbard, and then there was a manager before that. Her last name was Odom, so I remember those. Of course, they're documented with the IRS too. So, anyways, so here's the last phaser upgrade, and if you want to look at the stat difference, you can see the green numbers are the increases. So, you know, a few hundred units of damage and stuff, and that's normal for tier 2 stuff. So you can't expect everything, because this ship probably has at least 7 tiers. Because even your 2-star battleship, 2-star explorer ship, and you get your Findra first at level 10, which is your first cool ship. Even though the Rialto is really cool when you appreciate everything about it. It's your first Explorer, which is the same as this. It's an Explorer class right here. Strongest it gets, interceptors, attack, shield, defense. So, I've never seen it. Hey, there's a hidden description, Felix, if you press the Explorer button in the upgrade thing. It says, the Pathfinders of the galaxy with the strongest warp engines. Explorers should not be underestimated in combat either. Agile weapon tracking systems and high energy shields are only outmatched by battleships. So they're the second best, is how I read that. Now, I only have 5,000 ship XP, and so I'd rather have the power now and not worry about leveling, because it takes a really long time to level. Even if you're hitting like level 33s, which are like, there's only like 50 levels, I think, or maybe 60. There's a level 60, which probably has like level 60 ships. I always feel like there's 100 levels, but they're just hiding it for another StarTrek update. You actually can probably, you only get like 500 or 600 XP points for level 30s. There's like video of me hitting those level 30s, so, and if you ever play this game, you'll see that in firsthand. Now that could be changed in the update, but I don't know when that'll happen. Alright, so, thanks to Coca-Cola, or Coca-Cola here. As Coke in America is spelled with a K sometimes, over here it's spelled with 2 C's. So I'm using a Coca-Cola that's actually listed as produced in Vietnam. So yeah, it actually has Vietnamese on the back, but mostly a broken up, antiquated dialect of Vietnamese, so it is hard for us to read. Sometimes English is thrown in like CO2. Anyways, now we're gonna try to tier. Okay. You know, we're gonna tier it up right now. It's a 2-day, 3-hour tier up to go from 2 to 3, and I got enough 1-day speed ups where I'd rather have this than Ops 28 right now, because if I don't have strong enough ships, when I get an Ops 28, it's directly connected to your daily goals, and then you'll be, when you need stuff from there, it's gonna be hard to get that daily goal done. Like Federation, Champion or Warrior, or Romulan, Champion or Warrior, or Klingon, Champion or Warrior. Later on it's gonna be Borg or Subalon or whatever, probably like Vulcan, like every thing. And there might be ones just for us, right? Like the Felix Warrior daily goal, and the Anh-Kim Warrior one, Anh-Kim Champion, like one we could actually choose. Like we're building up to that, right? That's like the big surprise at the end. Alright, so now we're up to tier 3. Thank God we made it. I'm almost out of 1-day speed up, so I'm down to 1, I think, or 0 now. So we'll start with the warp engine again. We're actually be able to get to warp range 32, and my Scotty has only +4 right now. It used to, if you get, in my level 9 account, I've seen it, you're only +2 with the lower level Scotty, like the level 4, 1 through 4, 1 through 5 Scotty. And then it goes up to like +3 at some point. I'm guessing at like 10 to 15. And then when you get up to 20, he actually gets up to plus plus 4 on your warp distance, which I always call warp range, but it's the same thing. So this MK4 warp engine upgrade costs 400 of the common red refined ore and 110 units of